Oh, hey, we're here.
Wait a minute. Hunley's back, ladies and gentlemen.
Allegedly.
International jet setter is back.
Oh, my goodness. Barely.
Multiple countries for Hunley, crossing the international date line. And yet, he's here on time.
Yeah, there you go. I was actually at 0 time for a while, GMT. Oh, yeah. So there you go. For the first time, I was on time at the time.
Right.
But I am barely back now and sort of with it, but I'm here. And today we are doing the first of maybe a little bit of JFK this week.
Yeah, no, I got 4 weeks lined up of this stuff because I've had it with you people. The news gets old really fast. And that's why they call it news, North, East, West, and South. But we'll be here Friday to recap the entire planet.
We will be here Friday, and Friday we'll talk about, England, the trip, all the good internal
we'll
stuff.
Talk about everything. We got Bill this week, and then Vince Palomar is coming back, and then we've got Rex Bradford after that. He is the head of the Mary Ferrell Foundation. He's got an incredible story of how he became that. And also knows about the LBJ tapes with J. Edgar Hoover. That was his area of specialty. Rex Bradford. And that'll lead us into going to Dallas.
Yeah.
And then when we come back, we'll probably have a lot more guys that we'll meet in Dallas that we could then do on Tuesdays.
I don't know. What's happening in Dallas, Mark?
I don't know. I think this guy, Bill Simpich, is coming also, the guest for today. I think he's coming. Did you see his name on the list? Or
no? Let's take a look at this list.
Let's take a look here.
What's going on in
Dallas. We've got a ticking clock now. I got to start packing. What do you see there?
I don't see his name. I won't rule him out. I've not seen it so far. Wait, hold on. Here it is.
Yeah, I thought
Jerry Aguilar and Bill Simpich.
Furtherance of Tink Thompson's theory of the trajectory and number of shots in Dallas. Whoa. Getting into some physics there.
Awesome.
Not just a lawyer, but he's a medical physics forensics dude.
There you go. And I just had somebody writing to me earlier asking about the throat shot and the windshield, etc. And about it, I'm like, well, we've talked about this how many times? How many times did we discuss the short from the overpass through the windshield into
I can't talk about it anymore. It's not their fault because they have questions and they've not seen 100 episodes, so they don't know what they don't know. So somebody said that, and I said, I think we covered it when I went to Dallas in that episode where I went on the trestle. I think we talked about the angle there, right?
No, we talked about it there. No, we've talked about it probably in 10 episodes or more.
Oh, good. Okay.
It's many times.
So. Yeah.
Also, we've done I want to say almost 20 Q&As that comes up. So it's out there a lot. We do believe, yes, he was shot in the throat first before the fatal round hit. He was shot in the throat through the windshield and
from the front, from the
left side of the trestle.
People say, yes, he's turning towards the picket fence and gets shot in the throat. Well, how does it go through the windshield and dead center of the windshield? There's only one spot on the planet Earth, and that's from the trestle. And since there's guys standing in the middle of the trestle, it has to be to the left side of the trestle where there's lattice work and holes. And I think I took Eric up there, didn't we?
Yeah, we've been there. I actually filmed it 360. There's a link to that in Locals. But yeah,
it's not complicated. I mean, that's probably the simplest part of the whole JFK assassination is the throat shot through the windshield from that area there, and then the terminal annex parking lot is an escape route.
And the fact that they then removed the windshield and shipped the
car
off.
We went into that.
Which kind of reinforces it. So
yeah. I mean, it's so funny because there's so much LBJ involvement where he's the only guy who can make these decisions. because lower level guys are just not going to wake up and go, I got to get rid of the windshield on that limo. I mean,
Absolutely.
and in fact, you see him calling up Captain Fritz, calling up Crenshaw in the hospital in Parkland, you know, physically himself doing it,
Yeah.
because it's stuff that even he can't delegate.
Absolutely.
You know, like if he has somebody doing that for him, nobody's going to give a shit or take it seriously. If Bill Moyers calls you up and says, I think you've got your man, you know, as he did, or, you know, I want a deathbed confession from Oswald, it's got to be from him. It's the stakes are him.
I agree. I absolutely agree. So, all right, tell us about this guy, Bill Simpich, who's in the background, ready to come on anytime.
Bill can explain his own background, but from what I know, him and Larry Schnapp, who's been a guest on the show, are the two lawyers who sued Joe Biden to release it's him and Larry representing this is from what I gather, I could be wrong. Him and Larry representing Mary Ferrell Foundation in a suit against the president of the United States. And that time was Joe Biden to release the remaining JFK documents. I don't know where that lawsuit is at this point, and Bill can talk about that. But Bill has also a long history of research into Lee Harvey Oswald that is first rate, and has written the 12 people who built Lee Harvey Oswald, and also a book called State Secret, which he can talk about, both of those that are available on the Mary Ferrell Foundation website as ebooks of sort. So he
I
can
put
discuss
links to them in the description.
Oh, cool. Oh, that's cool.
I am hoping that I want to know who the 12 are. So hopefully
I know who they are. Yeah,
I know you know who they are, but I, speaking for the audience and the rest of the world, I want to know who the 12 are.
The book, in a lot of ways, the ebook, I don't know if it's in print or it's just on the website. It's kind of like Chokeholds, because he goes through these 12 and what their role is in relation to Oswald. And I don't want to speak for him. I think he's out of Oakland. He's probably an Oakland A's fan, but maybe we could bring him on. Maybe the tech is all good at this point, and we could talk to Bill about it.
Yeah, he just popped into the scene, and hopefully, Bill, how are you doing? Hopefully you can give us a thumbnail sketch of who the 12 are who created.
Well, let's get into his back.
Whatever.
First of all, let's just start with Bill's background before we get long into that. Bill, I kind of know about you, but tell the people at home a little bit about your background.
Well, I'm a civil rights attorney by trade, troublemaker at heart. Love your show.
Is he freezing up, Eric? Is that
he's overwhelmed into silence.
Oh, okay.
I don't know.
No. I had a little blip. I'm in Mexico as we speak, so I'm hugging the Wi-Fi.
Okay. Well, don't hug it so it moves around. You could hug it electronically, but let's see if we can stabilize it. You're in Mexico City, Bill, or?
Am I freezing up, or am I okay?
You're okay now.
I just heard you now. You were coming through earlier.
All right. Well,
sounds okay.
I hear you.
Good. Okay. So anyway, I've been one of those people who was a troublemaker much of my life, very active in political type activities. And what struck me when I saw the Oliver Stone movie in '91 was I had never really looked at it quite that way. I thought I was kind of sophisticated at politics, and I just realized that I wasn't in that moment, because a lot of this stuff I just treated as conspiracy stuff. At the same time, I believed that the Cubans and the mafia and the intelligence agencies were involved, but I just didn't consider it very important. I saw Kennedy as kind of a cold warrior, and I was wrong on that too. So the whole thing was kind of humbling when I walked out of that Stone movie that day. I'm like, here's this Vietnam vet, who has been paying attention when I wasn't. So it was a good moment. And
what did that lead you to do after 1991? Did you take action on that, or?
I didn't quite know what to do, Mark. It was a time in my life where I was pulling away from politics a bit because I was getting married, and at the same time, I was very caught up in social things in the law, like needle exchange, for example, because the AIDS was just tearing apart where I live. 1 out of 2 of the fellas.
It's a cliffhanger.
It is, absolutely.
They went down from AIDS, so it was terrible. It was.
Can you repeat that
hard
last
time.
statement? You cut off.
Sure. The last bit was so many people in my neighborhood, like 1 out of 3 or more of the gay men, dropping dead from AIDS. It was just a horrible time. So
how did you get involved with the Mary Ferrell Foundation? Maybe you can explain what it is.
Sure.
First of all,
the Mary Ferrell Foundation is an archive of documents, and the focus is on JFK, RFK, MLK, Watergate, Iran-Contra. Don't try to spread ourselves too broadly. The JFK one, as you can imagine, takes up the majority of the time, and that's kind of what led me to it as well. I was studying health policy around AIDS.
Well, tell us who Mary Ferrell was, so people have an understanding of what we're talking about. We understand it, but we're talking to them now.
Oh yeah. It's funny. I don't know a lot about Mary Ferrell. I always kind of preface it about that. She was after my time. She passed away in 2002, but she was what I would call an obsessed researcher.
Right.
And she was a legal secretary. Her husband was an attorney, I believe. And she was a controversial character for a number of reasons, not least of which was when a researcher came to her house to pay homage, as it were. First thing she would do would be to take their photograph, which I would.
Oh, that's interesting. That's ballsy.
Yeah. That's what they do at the courthouse. In federal court, they always take your picture if you're a witness.
Is that true?
Yeah. At least in my part of the world. Yeah.
Okay.
Makes sense on a certain level, but I just feel it's a violation of privacy to do it to a fellow researcher.
What about drawing people, sketching them? Is that a violation?
Oh, that's great. No, I think sketching. I hire.
So you're pro sketching, anti-photograph. Are you for cameras? Are you for cameras in the courtroom?
With photoing in federal court. I understand what they've got to do. I just don't. Mary was a little.
All right then.
Okay, we got to that. Now,
I am.
Oh, okay.
All the way. Yeah, all the way.
So you wrote these 2 pieces that I've had since they came out. 2 things. The 12 people who helped build the Oswald legend, and the other one called State Secret. Can we go over the 12 first of all, because it is a master work, Bill. I've always loved this. I think it came out in 2020. If I am correct, or maybe earlier, but it's quite a piece of work, and maybe we can explain it a little bit to those at home.
All right. Well, one way I try to approach it is chronologically, of course. I start with people like Angleton, who were looking at his file from the very beginning.
Right.
It's cliffhanger.
Basically sheltered Marina and Lee during the last days of his life. And my focus on it is to treat these people almost as handlers, whether they knew it or not. And I think in most cases they knew what they were doing. A number of them were intelligence people, CIA, FBI. And then you got the Paynes, who were like an uncertain quantity, if you will. And, right. And then you got Priscilla McMillan, who was certainly a CIA friend. And in fact, I think the Paynes, whether they knew it or not, they were assets of the CIA. And so that's kind of the flavor. We can talk about the individuals as we go, but I don't want to burden people.
Well, I mean, you could talk about, why don't we just, I don't know, we could jump in anywhere. Tell the people who Robert Webster was.
That's a good place to start. Because Webster was not.
I just got lucky. Okay.
Yeah, well, Webster is a fascinating figure.
Right. I agree.
Yeah. Yeah. He left the United States about the same time Oswald did. He came back about the same time. And one of the things that I found very interesting about him was he seemed to have some kind of not.
Okay.
interesting figure in that he was 5'10", 165 pounds. And I have this theory that Oswald was given that same any talk about it, except for one particular occasion, about 15 minutes after the president shot. That's the description that's sent out over the airwaves.
So 5'10", 165
strange,
or something. What was the description? 5'10"? Yeah.
5'10". Yeah, and he was never described that way anywhere else, except.
Right, that's weird. Now, if I remember correctly, Webster worked for Rand in plastics. Am I in the ballpark here
You're
with
right.
Webster? And he was at like a convention in Moscow.
Remember that convention where they had the kitchen debate between Khrushchev and Nixon?
Right.
Yeah, he's at that. He's at that exhibition.
Oh, weird. Okay. So was it like modern appliances, Bill, and plastics and kitchenware and stuff?
You got it. That's exactly right.
Very strange guy. Now, how did Marina know Robert Webster? If she did, I don't even know if she did, but it's been alleged.
We don't know
that
she did. Well, we know that they were at the same building for a particular period of time, like a week or two. That's just a very strange coincidence.
It was in her address book, or maybe in his address book. It was in somebody's address book.
That's right.
Right.
So that's another weird item. But
now, did Webster interface? You mentioned Priscilla McMillan Johnson. Did he interface with her?
No, he didn't.
Right.
Not to my knowledge.
Because she seems to be everywhere. I mean, the second that Oswald gets to the Moscow hotel, she is on him. And I didn't know till recently, this past year, that she was an intern for JFK.
Right. So she's
did you know that? I never heard that before.
Yeah. She and DeMoore and Shelter about the only people who knew, the Kennedy families and the Oswald families.
Right. And in DeMoore and Shelter's case, the Bush family.
Yeah, the Bush family and Jackie Kennedy.
Isn't DeMoore and Shelter one of the 12?
He is.
He's one of the 12, right? Yeah.
Absolutely.
I haven't read it in a while, but
right.
Tell the people who Popoff was, Colonel Popoff, and how he figures into this thing.
Popoff is also a very intriguing figure because the CIA worked with him as a double agent. He was giving lots of good information to counterintelligence, Angleton's friends, if you will, for a long period of time. And then on the day that Oswald comes to Moscow in October '59, Popoff is arrested, slipping a note to this fellow named Langell, who was with the diplomatic corps and also a spy. And Langell got kicked out of the country, and Popoff was executed. And it was the end of a long strain of events. So Popoff was one of the best double agents we ever had in the United States side of things.
Right. And how did he figure into this mole hunting that was obsessing Angleton so much? Was he the mole? Was Popoff the mole, Bill?
Yes, he was one of the moles. Absolutely.
Yeah. Oh, there's multiple moles. Okay. That's interesting.
Well, that's kind of what Angleton's job was. If you look at Angleton for a minute, his job was to keep the moles out of the CIA. And he was very wary about getting involved in any offensive operations because of that.
Right. Well, I mean, counterintelligence. That's what he is. That's what counterintelligence is, right? Essentially,
well, it's both things. It's offense and defense. Yeah.
Right.
I'm just saying he was a defense guy.
Okay, so we got Popoff. There's McVicker, there's Snyder, but there's a guy I really was interested in named Commander Hallett, and his wife Joan Hallett. I don't know I think you might have mentioned Joan Hallett in your work as his wife. Was she part of the ambassador, the Moscow embassy crew, Bill?
Yeah, I'm good. I know the Halletts.
Oh, you do?
And Joan Hallett.
You know them personally, or? Oh,
hello.
The Halletts got to him.
They did.
So Hallett, from what I remember, Hallett was I assume ONI inside the U.S. Embassy in Moscow, being a naval commander. Maybe his wife Joan was a secretary of some sort. But what is the? How do they figure into this Oswald Moscow U.S. Embassy thing, if at all? I mean, how does McVicker fit in? How does Snyder fit in? How do you even fit in at this point? I think they got to him in Mexico City.
Absolutely.
They
You gotta watch that. Yeah, you know what? Oswald may not have been in Mexico, but our guest is.
Right, well, apparently not. Yeah, we'll see if he can reboot. But there's a lot of stuff in his 2 books that he might be coming back.
Well, I see him in the screen below. Is there another copy of him? No.
Maybe he can reboot his thing or something. Is it?
I don't know. I think it's his phone.
Oh, it's his phone. Yeah.
Okay.
He's trying to find a spot.
Well, we were just commenting that we don't think Oswald is in Mexico, but you are.
No, I'm in the middle.
You're in the middle.
It depends what day of the week it is. Whether
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's not sketchy. Okay, so you don't believe Oswald, speaking of Mexico, you don't believe he was in Mexico City, if I remember correctly. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I kind of remember you were a non-believer of the Oswald Mexico City story, Bill.
Oh, I'm an agnostic, Mark.
An agnostic again. Okay.
Yeah.
It's like Jim DiEugenio. Yeah, the only time I hear agnosticism anytime is related to JFK research at this time.
You got to be careful. You don't want to pick the wrong fight when you're not certain of your slope.
Right. But I mean, in your writings, let's go to your writings. It seems to indicate from what you wrote that he was not in Mexico City and that this was a frame up. No? Okay. Maybe I'm crazy. Anytime you mention Mexico City, it freezes up.
No kidding. Well, I guess we got to be careful when the guest is in Mexico.
Right.
I have no idea. Yeah. So he's frozen. So while we're waiting, what do you recall from his writings
I recall, which I have here, which I was reading a number of months ago, that he believes that Oswald was framed in Mexico City by certain people who, wanted to make it seem like he was going to the embassy to get a visa on September 28th. I don't think, unless he's changed his mind on that and become an agnostic, it's a big chunk of his writings. There's a whole chapter on Mexico City in his book. You know what I did learn, though, which I didn't know, and I'll give you a couple of factoids that I've recently picked up, some of it from his writing. Ruth Paine moved from Pennsylvania to Irving, Texas, very close to where Oswald's mother lived, the week Oswald defected and left his mother.
Really?
I did not know that. Yeah, 1959, she moves to almost exactly where his mother lives the week he leaves to go to Russia. I mean,
so
what are the
was that in the Dallas Fort Worth area, or is that New Orleans?
No, Dallas Fort Worth. No, Dallas Fort Irving.
It was
She moves to Irving.
Wow.
She moves to Irving the actual week after he defects, the actual week he leaves his mother behind. And I think she was going to do to his mother what she did with Marina Oswald, that is, befriend her and shadow her and be someone spying on her. But I think that Marguerite Oswald was too cantankerous for that to happen. But I think that was her original orders.
I wish we could talk to Marguerite and say, did you ever run across this person?
This is the first I'm hearing about it. I did not know those dates. Then there's a couple other things. He believes there's a guy named Yuri Moskalev who Bill has written about. Yuri Moskalev was a KGB operative, and he may be the mystery man photographed outside the embassy. He had found another photo of him, Eric, and it does look like the guy photographed as Oswald, the mystery man outside the embassy, he believes is a guy named Yuri Moskalev, Moskalev, who was a colonel in. He was listed as a scientist, but that was a cover. He was actually a KGB colonel.
This gentleman here.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
He does look like a Russian. I mean, I'm not trying to
no.
put it in there, but
there's a
he kinda
photo he
has that
found
look
of. There's a photo in his book that he found of the guy. It's like a dead ringer for the guy, and he
Wow.
was in that embassy. So I mean, and they would take a photo of him. You know why they took this photo and said it was Oswald and shipped it off? I don't know. I don't know.
Well, we need a guy. We need an Oswald. Yeah, this will be the Oswald. Well, it's almost like what if they're saying, hey, we need a photo of somebody, but they don't even know what he really looks like because he's not even in Mexico. So they're like, I don't know. He's some dude. He's got brown hair. Okay, I've got a brown hair photograph here. Maybe he's 5'10", like the Webster.
Yeah, I think he was
5'10",
170, 165. There's a quote in his book where he says, this is from Bill's book. I don't know many men who know what curtain rods even exist. And he is quoted saying that in his book regarding the story about the curtain rods with Buell Wesley Frazier and Linnie Mae Randall. And Bill seems to think that Linnie Mae Randall, to save her brother's life, made up the story of the curtain rods. Now, keep in mind, he wrote this in 2020. This is before Buell Wesley Frazier wrote his own memoir saying he knew curtain rods inside and out because that was his high school job, shipping curtain rods during the summer out from the department store that he worked in. I just thought the quote was funny because it predates Frazier admitting that he was an expert in curtain rods. And he was trying to say that the story came from his sister and not from him.
I've never heard of a curtain rod expert. You know,
right?
I'm like, yeah.
Well, in his memoir, he says the reason I know about curtain rods is because I worked in the shipping department of this department store, shipping out curtain rods all summer, which I've said is the origin of the curtain rod bullshit story.
Yeah, no, it makes sense.
Right. That's where I think it came from. But he, again, what Bill points out, and what I pointed out, is that Linnie Mae Randall and her brother Frazier are in trouble because the police take his 303 British Enfield from the house, the same gun, as he says in his book, they found on the rooftop of the Texas School Book Depository. This is never resolved. Some of it we'll address in Dallas with Robert Groden, who has film footage of the gun being brought down from the rooftop of the Texas School Book Depository. So we will discuss this with Groden in some detail. But I just thought it was interesting that he made this quip in his book that I don't know any men who know about curtain rods. And Frazier later says that he's one of them.
Yeah, I mean, that is definitely odd.
He also found out, I don't know if this is from him, but there's a name, Stanley Zamka. Now, Stanley Zamka is a cover name for a guy named David Morales. David Morales was second in command at JM Wave. But there's a document that Bill found where Bill Harvey in 1962 requested that Win Scott send back David Morales from Mexico City. So David Morales in Mexico City is sent back to Miami in 1962 to run second in command, I think, JM Wave, possibly to Joe and Ides. But one of the interesting things is that Bill Harvey is in charge of wiretapping in Mexico City, but he's not in Mexico City, Bill Harvey. He is in D.C. and never goes to Mexico City himself.
Now, hold on. Bill Harvey came back up recently. They were making a big deal out of him.
Right. So I'm trying to add on to that big deal by saying he never went to Mexico City and was, according to all existing documents, and he based his wiretaps out of his office. Not that he was running the wiretaps out of his office, but people were reporting back to him in DC about the wiretaps all over the world, including Mexico City, which would include. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was say brand new update from Mexico. Apparently, the electricity went out.
Okay.
So,
dude, these guests never tell us anything. They just show up, and how many times has this happened? Where somebody showed up with technical problems. We can't even count on them. And there was an operation.
Okay, so I'm sorry to interrupt and back up.
Yeah.
So what was the big deal about Bill Harvey that came up in the files? Because I
don't really know. They
that.
said that they wanted his travel records, which I've never. It was a flight that he was on that was redacted, and the airlines were cooperating with the intelligence services by not printing the names of people who were using the airlines to fly around. In other words, let's say that Bill Harvey went on TWA flight 389 DC to Rome. They would redact that name from the flight logs. But it's not just him. They would do this, as we saw even with Epstein Island. Who was ever on flight logs of any importance has their names redacted. And Bill Harvey had it unredacted, and it said Bill Harvey. So they were accusing, if I can gather this, they were accusing commercial airlines of being in cahoots with the government.
Okay.
That was the revelation.
They probably were. I mean,
right. No, that's what I said. It's exactly what I said. Right.
You have sensitive people who are flying around.
That's my look. Is it right? No. But am I surprised? Absolutely not. You know, I mean, do you really want to hear on the PA, Bill Harvey, the captain, says, "Enjoy your flight"?
Yeah, I mean, okay. You know, I imagine.
Well, Amtrak. This is what Bill kind of specialized in. These codified CIA abbreviations, and Amtrak was run out of the State Department. It was after Operation Mongoose, and after the assassinations of Castro had failed, they took it into the State Department and got rid of Bill Harvey and sent him on his way to Rome, where he remained until the end of his career, which was not that long. But Amtrak was an in-State Department program to foment a coup d'etat within Cuba, Eric. Instead of assassinating, they went to this plan to foment a coup of Castro, which never worked.
Castro seemed to be ahead on everything. I mean, it's like,
yeah, I mean, he was sending defectors. Even before that, he was sending defectors into Miami who were double agents. Now, how are you supposed to know if a guy's a real defector or a high-ranking person who's just had enough of Castro and his communist totalitarian techniques? I mean, it's really difficult to decide.
He not only did that, but later on he got creative and he emptied out his prisons too. Said, "Hey,
right." But that was in the 80s, just dumping these people. But I'm saying, you're talking about guys really high up. There was a guy in his administration. Let me see if I remember his name from. It was an interagency defection committee. The IDC was run by this woman who was put into the CIA Hall of Fame, which I didn't know existed. The IDC was run by a chick named Dorothy Matlack. She was put into, this is 1987, speaking of dumping the prisons. Dorothy Matlack ran the Interagency Defector Committee, which I didn't even know existed, called the IDC. And Dorothy Matlack, a woman with a big white bouffant hairdo, was put into the Military Intelligence Hall of Fame. Did you know that there was a Military Intelligence Hall of Fame? I did not. I
knew they had the memorial wall.
Right. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about, this is multi-agency. She was in charge of all defectors related to all agencies of intelligence for all the military branches.
That seems like the weirdest thing of all. There's a Military Intelligence Hall of Fame.
That's the one I'm talking about. Yeah.
Okay.
That's the one she was inducted into.
I have a feeling that on that the ones who really did something of note probably can't get inducted until it's like, so what? Are you going to be Jane Doe, number 27? This year wins. Or
There's
are
a
you going to have to
photo
wait
of
40
her.
years to go?
There's a photo in his book of her with a plaque. She's older. She's in her 70s.
What's her name again?
Her name is Dorothy Matlack. It's
Matlack.
spelled Dorothy, D-O-R-O-T-H-E.
Yep, Dorothy in 1987.
Right.
All right, let's have some fun with this. Let me share this tab. You want to know more about this Military Hall of Fame? It's a Wikipedia article.
Oh, my Lord. Jesus.
It is in Fort Huachuca.
Okay.
And there is
Is David Atlee Phillips in it?
I don't know. Let's find out. Phillips for the win. He is not an honoree.
Well, he's in the retired intelligence officers thing. Take Rolando Cubella. He was a hitman, Cuban hitman. Cubella killed the intelligence chief under Batista. Now you say, well, why is that important? Well, he defects to the United States, and you're wondering if you should trust this hitman. And Cubella has been named as one of the possible Cuban shooters regarding JFK. But at this point, he was a defector, Eric. So you don't know if you could trust this guy and flip him.
Yeah, that would be a problem.
That would be a problem for intelligence.
I don't have a picture of Rolando.
Do you have a picture? You show the picture of David Morales. How about Herminio Diaz Garcia? He's been alleged to have been one of the Cuban shooters. And Bill, this is from Bill's book. That's why I'm pulling these names out. Herminio
Diaz Garcia. Okay, no,
Diaz Garcia.
I have an FBI file on him. I'm looking to see if I.
That's the guy. That's the guy.
Garcia. I'm only finding a PDF on his. This is a FBI, I believe. Yeah, FBI record number.
Oh yeah.
Information about him. I don't have his picture outright.
No, okay. That's probably his file. But these two guys were, Rolando Cubella, for people who believe that these were the hitmen, and I'm not disputing it or embracing it. I'm kind of, I hate to say, agnostic on it, using their word, because I don't know enough to make that judgment. It's easy for people to say that, but it's hard to really have any information about it. But one of the 12 in his book is a woman named Ann Goodpasture.
There you go, by the way. This is Rolando.
Oh, good. Let me see. Oh, he looks innocent enough.
Yeah, a broken arm and a cigar in hand. He's a tough mofo.
I think these were Bay of Pigs veterans too.
Yeah, he's a Cuban revolutionary.
Right.
Rolando Cubella.
Now the question is, this is a guy who assassinated as a hitman the intelligence chief under Batista before Castro got in. He's then part of the Castro regime and then defects. So, I mean, do you trust this guy, Eric?
I don't trust anybody. But I trust you, Mark.
Well, it's not a question of trust. It's a question of how do you use them? And did they infiltrate? Because every attempt to kill Castro, he, like you said about the cigars, he's hip to it because of his intelligence operatives.
Yeah, I know. I mean, he's remarkable.
Yeah.
Let me see. Here's Ann Goodpasture, who you brought up. It'll be hard.
She's just got the greatest name in the entire thing is Ann Goodpasture. Now, Ann Goodpasture works in Mexico City. She's second or third in command to Win Scott, and then David Atlee Phillips. And her specialty was the tapes and pouching them and sending them to DC and taping over them, recording them. That was her area of expertise. And this woman also gave some bullshit testimony, I think, to the House Assassinations Committee. But she was one of the players. What's that?
I said, imagine that.
No,
the CIA jerking them around. Who was the other guy, Morley's favorite?
Joe Anides.
jerk them around.
I know it's so funny because I go, yeah, and what about it? They're like outraged about it. You know, I don't know. I mean, to me, all of these things are kind of meaningless because, you know, you've got so many players involved, like Sylvia Duran, who we ordered to be tortured and held incommunicado until we could get her to tell her or our Oswald story, which she never does. She was held, and part of the documents that we found indicate that the intelligence forces in Mexico City were under our control.
Yeah, no,
as was the president-elect, who was contacted by president-elect of Mexico City, who was contacted by us and told to pick up Sylvia Duran and put her on ice, and she was tortured. But she never really buckled and said what they wanted her to say, and there becomes like a stumbling block because she will not do our bidding. So we're just saying that she said this, and then when she comes out of captivity, she doesn't say what we want her to say, Sylvia Duran.
Amazing.
He also covers the Ruth Paine type letter, which we just recently talked about. You know, the one that she claims Oswald typed up and she gave to the FBI as soon as they showed up. He has photos in his book of that letter, the typed version, Eric, which I hadn't seen before.
All right. Now, one thing that's cool is that his book, it looks like he published this just online. Like you can go to the link in the description. Don't have to pay anything. It's
great reading.
Chapter. Boom,
Yeah,
boom, boom.
He is a files nut, and he is a FOIA nut, from what I've read. And
that's a good question. Somebody asked if Sylvia Duran is still alive.
I don't know.
I don't know either.
I don't know. Let's see, just certified radiation. Well, I don't know if Silbert and O'Neill are alive, or if people from the autopsy are still alive. I mean, to me, you've got a situation here where, like we said, LBJ is calling up Dr. Charles Crenshaw, saying, I'm sending a man in to get a deathbed confession from Oswald. And he's also calling up Captain Will Fritz and saying, you've got your man, stop your investigation. I mean, this is pretty hands-on. As I pointed out many times in the show, the further left you are politically as a researcher, the less interest you have in LBJ as a conspirator. And the antithesis to that is true, too. You could take someone like Ben Shapiro and the right, and they believe that Oswald was the lone shooter because he was a communist, and they can make a good case based on the facts as they see them. So nobody takes this into consideration. The fact that the right wing or the conservative part of the nation, up until most recently, has believed that Oswald was a communist. Why? Because he said so. Also that he defected. Also that the Warren Commission proved he killed the president. From their point of view, it's another communist killer, this time who got lucky and killed the president.
Almost like a perfect patsy.
Yeah. But I'm saying, I'm playing devil's advocate here. But on the left, which is the bulk of the researchers, are extremely far left. They believe the right wing killed Kennedy, and that Oswald was making believe he was communist and making believe he defected. And also that the Soviets, who we were attempting to blame for the assassination, put out propaganda to their followers that the right wing of the United States killed their president. And this was designed by the Soviets to get the heat off themselves. I don't think they had any inkling of who did it. They believed LBJ was involved, as we've now read. But I don't believe that they knew one way or the other. But I think to get the blame off of them, they put out this storyline that the right wing had killed JFK. But I believe both of those are inaccurate, and I believe that it's in the middle, and that middle is LBJ. And I mean, it's not complicated when you look at for instance, when you look at the autopsy, right, and everybody spent a lot of time on the physics of the autopsy, right? Forget about the physics of the autopsy. Just look at these three guys who were running the autopsy. You know, Rear Admiral Berkeley, who is JFK's personal physician, George Berkeley, and Rear Admiral Edward C. Kinney, who was the Surgeon General of the Navy, and Rear Admiral Calvin Galloway. These three guys, these three rear admirals, were running the autopsy at Bethesda Naval Hospital. Okay, that's fine. It's pretty well established. The idea that they woke up that morning on November 22nd and decided to do this autopsy and alter it to make it look like Kennedy was shot from behind on their own. Just think of it. Hear me out. The fact that these three admirals came to Bethesda and had the wherewithal to say, let's reconstruct, as we now know, the autopsy photographs, the brain, the shots, the wounds. Let's reconstruct the whole thing to prove that this assassin shot him from behind from a building they knew nothing about at this point on November 22nd. Now, the reason I mention these three is because they had to report to the Secretary of the Navy in the chain of command. The Secretary of the Navy had to report to the Vice President, and the Vice President had to report to the President of the United States. Unfortunately, there was no Secretary of the Navy, there was no Vice President of the United States, and their direct commander-in-chief and chain of command, physically direct, not overall overarching LBJ running the military, their next guy in line to give them orders was LBJ for this autopsy. That's the facts. Now, the idea that these three guys woke up that morning and said, let's not talk to LBJ, let's just go in and reconstruct the head of the President of the United States, who's now deceased, is of course preposterous. And that's one aspect of the LBJ did it philosophy. The second aspect of it is, and I ask these people all the time, whoever the conspirators were, whether it was military, whether it was Cuban, whether it was left wing, right wing, whoever they were, Eric, the idea that they would gamble and assume that the LBJ would not come after them is insane. In other words, we're going to put together this complicated plot, killing the President of the United States, altering his autopsy, doing all this stuff, and we're just going to hope and pray that his successor, for reasons we do not know, will not come after us in terms of legal and law enforcement reasons. We're not going to ask him. We're not going to get him involved in the plot, Eric, because he's going to be the President of the United States. We're going to put this entire plot together and just cross our fingers that LBJ will not seek to find out who killed the President of the United States. That's insane, number two.
It kind of reminds me of, I don't remember the guy's name, but the one who was testifying before Congress and said, well, we're done here. It's one thing to testify against the vice president, but I'm out of here. He's president now. See ya.
Yeah, I mean, that's the insurance salesman who was testifying that he had to give back, he had to give all these different gifts to LBJ, the TV console and everything else, which is featured in the audio version that we're going to get for the locals people in a couple of days or maybe a week. He's featured prominently in there, and he's testifying in a closed door session to these investigators. And he says, as Eric said, it's one thing to paraphrasing, to rat out a vice president. It's another thing to do it to the President of the United States, because they learn in the middle of the interview that LBJ is president. Look, I mean, all of these things are very interesting. The fact that they leave out LBJ every single time is just insane to me, because he's physically hands-on, and the idea that the conspirators would ignore him. That's what I'm supposed to believe, Eric, that whoever the conspirators are, they're just hoping that him and his best friend J. Edgar Hoover will not come after them. That's what I'm supposed to believe, based on every leftist JFK investigator. He can't be involved because we like him. He can't be involved because of his social programs. He can't be involved for whatever cockamamie reasons they can come up with. He's involved in the cover-up for the good of the country. However, as a sitting vice president and the successor to the guy who was just assassinated, we're just going to hope and pray that he will invade Cuba for us, he will invade the Soviet Union, or give us Vietnam as a booby prize. That's just crazy. Or also not come after us as the killers.
But Mark, great society.
I know. Created by a guy from the Washington Post who later self-deleted himself.
But Mark, the Civil Rights Act.
Look, I don't know about all that stuff and what it has to do with this, but you're right. They seem to have, and Oliver Stone is the leader of this band, they seem to have a feeling that this guy, who repeatedly said, I am going to cut Bobby Kennedy's throat if it's the last thing I do, switching to Bobby Kennedy, which I believe he was involved in also. This guy was involved in so much heinous activity. I mean, his own aides called him bipolar, a megalomaniac, an alcoholic, and a sex addict. And that was from Bill Moyers and his speechwriter. But they seem to think that all of the books written about LBJ's habits are not to be incorporated into this investigation. I don't know how you get there.
Which I'm confused by, because I have never heard anybody say that Robert Caro is full of shit.
Right.
And they just all say he's a masterful biographer.
He's a masterful biographer who said that LBJ drank 2 quarts of Cutty Sark a night, took his penis out, wagged it around the White House, yelled the N-word until he was blue in the face, had sex with every single person in that White House in the secretarial pool, impregnating a couple of them, paying for abortions, wreaking havoc with people's wives and the government. However, because of the Great Society and all of that is absolved. It's the craziest switcheroo in the history of American politics. There has to be a time when this research community begins to focus on LBJ as the main suspect in the assassination of JFK. The brilliance of LBJ. Or
at least to rule him out. It's like, how about everybody focuses completely on it, to every degree, to rule him out? Like,
well, good luck. Good luck ruling him out. I don't think it's possible. I think that he was a very, very, as history has proven, hands-on commander-in-chief. And we see that because of what he's done on the phone, because of what he's doing moments after the assassination, bringing in a judge to swear him in, calling Bobby Kennedy in Washington, almost taunting him to get the swearing in ceremony, and Bobby Kennedy telling him he's already president. Why do you need to get a judge?
I agree. Now, I did hear back from Bill. He's out. He'd have to be called. I don't have the ability to patch him in by phone. So
we'll get him some other time.
For the rest of us, do you want to do a Q&A? If anybody has any questions, we do that.
We could do that.
So, folks, here is a inadvertent impromptu Q&A on JFK. By the way, on JFK, not everything else in the world. So if you have any questions on JFK, please put in a Q or question before it, and then ask
maybe E. Howard Hunt was not wrong that LBJ was the mastermind of the conspiracy. Maybe Phil Nielsen was not wrong when he wrote his book, LBJ, Mastermind of the Assassination. Maybe Robert Caro is not wrong with his multiple volume biographies of LBJ. Maybe these people are not wrong. Richard Goodwin, who was the speechwriter for JFK and then worked as a writer for LBJ, and Bill Moyers, the 2 aides, both realizing that their boss was a megalomaniac, sex-addicted alcoholic who was bipolar. Maybe they're not wrong.
But Mark, all of that is true, but it's a bridge too far to say that he would, take somebody out to get his job.
Maybe it's because he was about to be indicted in federal court. Maybe it's because the cover of Life magazine had the Bobby Baker scandal coming out November 22nd, the cover of Life magazine, which had to be removed and the copies destroyed. Maybe it was because he was about to be, as Nixon said on November 21st in Dallas when he was leaving, that he was about to be dropped from the ticket, that being LBJ. Maybe it was because he was going to go to the penitentiary. And you'd say, Mark, how could a vice president go to the penitentiary? That's outrageous. Why don't you ask the wife of Spiro Agnew how it feels to have a vice president go to the penitentiary a couple of years later?
Good question on that for sure. Well, early we've got some basic super. Somebody put this comment in. I like this because I was in the UK.
Yeah.
Another variant we can maybe use instead of Harry Carey is the British version, topped himself.
Is that really true?
I don't know.
I never heard that.
The British
That's
use
okay.
the term topped himself.
I never heard
so I
that
like
before.
that, and it's like, okay, there's another term we can try. Who
Okay,
knows?
I don't mind that.
Pew Pew said, welcome back, Eric. We missed you. Thank you, Pew Pew. I missed you. I was actually closer to you there for a minute, but I'm gone now.
Yeah.
Michael Bettis. Let's see. Smith's HR for the win. I'm sharing Game 7 winnings with you both. Thanks for the great work.
Well, you bet on it.
Okay, good for you. Pamela Clifton. Happy Tuesday, guys. Thank you, Pamela. And Diffuse. Huzzah for the Dodgers. Tractor Guy.
Oh, yeah. Tractor Guy. Welcome back.
So, and Friday, we will definitely be going into this. And, Pew Pew gifted 10 America's Untold Stories memberships, which we always appreciate. And thank you so much. It's a bit of a grind right now. YouTube is suppressing things like crazy, as we've mentioned. And hopefully you guys will help by telling a friend. And as I said before, Otto, his power's still out. It is what it is. He didn't nope out. We'll figure something out later.
Otto's concerned about him.
Yes, Otto's always concerned.
I always assume you're home in your house when you agree to do the show and not on a cruise ship in the fucking Gulf of Mexico or something,
Yeah, I agree. Let me see. We got Bob Watson with the QQ. Who was the guy, last name Sarti, who Lucien, right? Lucien Sarti?
There's Jean Sartre. There's also that, but again, this obsession with the French is there's enough shooters who are good in America, and where you don't. I've always said America first when it comes to assassination. I don't know why the country with the First Amendment and the most guns and the most accurate shooters in the history of the world would have to employ somebody from a backwards country like France.
Again, though,
I never understood the logic behind that.
Well, okay, you know what? I hate to take it to modern day, but these aren't the best shots.
I look at the failures of killing de Gaulle. Like, why would you say, well, they almost killed de Gaulle. Let's get these guys.
Yeah, well, what I'm saying, Mark, is there's been a couple recent shootings, obviously, and again, those were probably more difficult than the shot, which was a very slow vehicle. Again, everybody, and you don't have, I recommend going to the Lancer conference, but even if you don't, even if you have to go another time, go to Dealey Plaza, look at the mark on the ground, stand by the picket fence, and go, oh, I get it now, because it's not that far of a shot. It's a pretty. I'm not going to say an average, but a lot of farm kids, whatever. Somebody who shoot a squirrel can make that shot.
Let me ask you the reverse. Wouldn't guys from France or Italy stand out like a sore thumb in the middle of Dallas? Where are you going? Well, I'm leaving now. Sacre bleu, the president is dead. I mean, they would stand out like a sore thumb.
Absolutely. Okay, Stephen Greco, question. Is it true LBJ had a tiny EKG on his suit
First
pocket?
of all, EKG is like a heart monitor. I don't know if he had that, but I think what this cat's I don't know what this cat's referring to was he took the handheld microphone from the Secret Service radio, and he draped it over the front seat, and he was listening the entire time, bent over to the transmission of the Secret Service. That is true. We know that from people in the car.
All right, positive.
Why he would do that is insane, of course. Like, why would the vice president be listening
to every other? It's like, and that'll be another question. You know, it's a good Palomaro, whatever question. It's like, how often did he do that when they were driving around? Did he normally do that? Yeah, exactly.
Never did it.
But just that day, it's like, you know what? This is a good day to listen in on.
Well, I mean, the fight to the death with JFK in the hotel in Fort Worth to keep Connolly out of that seat is legendary. I don't know how the LBJ non-involved committee can explain his battle to the death with JFK to have Ralph Yarborough sitting in that seat, and then, you know, Connolly yelling, "They're going to kill us all." LBJ had a screaming match 2 o'clock in the morning, the morning of the 22nd, with JFK about getting Connolly out of that seat. What's it to him? What is so important about that seat at 2 o'clock in the morning, where you're willing to cash in your limited chits with the president of the United States to go to war with him over this seating arrangement, Eric?
Yeah, good question. Good question. Positive Planet has a question here. It's a good one. Who have you not covered in the JFK assassination? Who'd you still like to?
I don't know who's in it. You know, it's not a question of.
Well,
first of all, you're
you're
assuming that we know who's in it. I mean, that's kind of a piece of.
I think they're talking about the more general subject, like we cover Marina Oswald, Margaret Oswald. Who else is out there?
I don't know. How many have we covered, do you think?
Well, we have 91 episodes, including this one.
Okay.
Some of them are Q&As, but I don't remember. You know, some of the people we're planning to cover in the future, like Dulles. I don't know if he ties in directly or not, but as a character, we're planning on covering him.
I think the main thing I learned about Dulles was that he visited LBJ that summer at the ranch. Now, he did have a book out, his book on his supposed biography, which I is a fairly interesting book. And he was on a quasi book tour, Eric. So he did visit LBJ at the ranch. But again, why would LGBT? Why would LBJ? Why would LBJ?
I don't know what that would be.
Yeah. Why would LBJ take 2 months off from being in Washington prior to the assassination? How, if J.D. Vance disappeared today for 2 months and he was in Appalachia doing stuff and nobody knew what he was doing, I think somebody would say, hey, where the hell's the vice president? But not in this case. He's able to leave D.C. for the entire months of September and October and go to his ranch outside of Austin and just have visitors. You know, just have plotters come over. Hey, come on over, you plotters. I'm going to be here for 2 months, and this is where we're going to do it, right here.
To be fair, Mark, I think our previous administration had somebody that nobody minded disappearing for months at a time if they did. Probably
guarantee you no vice president has ever left D.C. for 2 months. Guarantee you. And I would like to see the records of somebody who disappeared for 2 months.
I don't know.
Why were they concerned about LBJ losing his mind at the end of his life on his ranch and having cabinet meetings with his Mexican ranch hands every morning? Why did they care so much to hire a psychiatrist to go examine him to see what he was saying at that ranch to these Mexican ranch hands? What was it to them? What was it so important to this law firm in Austin to find out if he was talking about something that he shouldn't be talking about? Not the government, not the sitting president, not somebody who knew him in government. A law firm in Austin hires a psychiatrist to go see what he's squawking about there while drinking around the clock and listening to Bridge Over Troubled Waters by Simon and Garfunkel.
Right. Let me see. Finley Sallow on Rumble question. Finally saw the Oliver Stone JFK movie, it inferred JFK, MLK, and RFK were all killed for being against war. Do you guys agree with this to any degree?
There is something to that. I mean, look, all three were anti-Vietnam War, and MLK was able to operate fairly loosely until he turned against the war. I think RFK was pro-Vietnam until he turned against the war and ran for president, RFK. And JFK apparently was going to, slow down the war. However, that being said, as we've said on this channel, there were bigger fish to fry. There was no war. The quid pro quo where LBJ gives the generals their war is to stop the generals from invading Cuba and the Soviet Union. The quid pro quo is to give them Vietnam. There is no Vietnam. There is no Vietnam. He gives them Vietnam as a booby prize to stop them from their demands of having a Bay of Pigs 2 and or thermonuclear first strike on the Soviet Union that they were demanding every day under JFK. It wasn't like something out of Dr. Strangelove. They were saying they're building up their nuclear arsenal. At some point, it's going to come to a nuclear war. And if so, it would benefit us to do it now. There's a certain military rationale to that, Eric. Thermonuclear or not. There's a certain, when you see your opponent building weapons and increasing their weapon strength, and you've got an 8-to-1 ratio, 6-to-1, 5-to-1, 3-to-1, 2-to-1, at what point do you just say, all right, let's go? I mean, I'm not advocating it. I'm just talking from the Joint Chiefs of Staff point of view.
Yeah, I mean, people were different back then as well.
Yeah.
So,
well, the situation was different back then too.
Absolutely. All right. Pew Pew wants to know, what clique or school was LBJ part of in comparison to JFK? Skull and Bones? I don't know if he was
He wasn't part of any school at all.
Yeah, did he? Well, he did.
He went to teachers college. He went to teachers college. No. He despised that, and he was the oddball out. That they.
That's true. JFK was definitely much more of Ivy League.
Yeah, no. I mean, he despised all that stuff. LBJ.
Mike S. Why is the JFK research committee overwhelmingly leftist? Well, JFK was a Democrat,
right?
And he is Democrat icon,
right?
He is the Abraham Lincoln of Democrats.
Yeah. That's what. And initially, it came out of universities. The research community started in the universities, started on the left because the Warren Commission had a Dulles in it and had the FBI all over it, and they didn't buy into it, but it came from leftist college people in the mid 60s. Think about the time period. It really doesn't start until not 64 and 65, with Mort Saul and these others in 64. It really gets going in 67 and 68 and 69 when the others are killed.
And by the way, I'm not justifying it, but I also say that a lot of the right wing hated his guts.
Yeah.
So they had no motivation to research this guy. Probably a lot of them were going,
well, I mean, look at it. You've got 3 liberal Democrats who were killed in the span of 5 years. You can put Malcolm X wherever you want to put him. But you've got MLK, RFK, and JFK killed within a 5-year period. You would start to think maybe the right wing was doing that.
Yep. I agree. I'm looking on locals here to see if there's any questions to pop in. Somebody's asking about, S. Smith Perry said, question, did LBJ do any renovations of the White House?
That's funny. Well, he did run around with Jumbo out in the White House, but he ran around with Jumbo as Senate Majority Leader too. I think he had 3 gigantic offices, one of them called the Taj Mahal, when he was Senate Majority Leader. But the fact of the matter is, I don't think he had time to really renovate the offices. He was busy utilizing them for his own nefarious devices, including this was on the day of FDR's funeral, where his casket is lying in the rotunda. He takes Helen Gahagan Douglas, the congresswoman from the great city of Hollywood, California, into one of his alcoves and has his way with her.
Yep, he had his way with many, including his biographer, right?
Including Doris Kearns Goodwin. Yeah. The wife of Dick Goodwin, who I was just referring to, who tried to get out of the administration because he went to a psychiatrist and he was told that LBJ was a megalomaniac, bipolar, alcoholic, sex addict. And
who did your wife?
Who also did your wife?
And he went home and she's like, I could have told you that.
I could have told
and
you
I find
that.
him sexy.
Yeah.
Let me see. Brown Derby said, question. I think I already know your answer, but any opinions about Chauncey Holt, who mentioned he made false docs for Oswald plus fake Secret Service badges?
Well, I don't want to get into him, but anyone who claims they were part of the assassination and writes books about it usually is not. That's just my rule of thumb. If you're claiming you were part of this thing and screaming, look at me, look at me, look at me, I tend to look the other way.
I think the reason why some really cling on to him is that he gave the interview and died a week later. He was dying of cancer at the time that he gave the interview.
Okay.
I don't know if that, adds to the veracity or not, but it does. It could be a factor.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. Highland Hatter wants to know, question, how close was LBJ to Hoover? Pretty close.
I mean, really close. They were so close that they lived across the street from each other for 20 years and talked to each other every single day. How about that for close? I'm sorry. I mean, I think of the current situation. The former FBI director, let's say it was Comey, for instance. You want to pick one of them. If Comey lived across the street from Bill Clinton for 20 years and they were best friends, it's not the case. But you could say that if there was a situation that was controversial with Clinton and his best friend was Comey, you could read into that something.
True. Let me see. Danny Ayers. Question: does the killing of J.D. Tippit, or is, I think, the killing of J.D. Tippit a direct link to the Kennedy assassination?
I don't think so.
Yeah, we don't know. I mean, he died. He was shot, and it was the same day.
Yeah, I think these guys, like I said before, it was Ruby who killed him, and there's witnesses who agree with me.
Right, but we don't know why, and we don't know
why
if it's related specifically.
Yeah.
That we're not sure. Jimbo said, question, Eric and Mark, thanks for everything. Can you spread some more light on LBJ accepting the vice presidency and therefore calling Kennedy's bluff?
Yeah, I can, because I was just talking about it or thinking about it the other day. It was right here in Los Angeles in 1960 after the Democratic Convention in the hotel right nearby my house here. JFK was visited by 2 FBI agents with photos of him with various women. He was told by them that Hoover would prefer that he picked LBJ as his running mate. He called up. Yeah, he called up LBJ, who was 2 floors below him. Lady Bird answered the phone half asleep. This is the day after the convention. And he says, tell him I'm coming down to see him. She puts him on the phone and he says, I'm coming down in an hour or a half hour to see you. So he says, get up, Lady Bird. He's coming down to offer me the vice presidency. And she tells him not to take it, blah, blah, blah. But he gets all his aides together. And that's where he asks the famous question, find out how many vice presidents died, how many presidents died in office. And he sends out what's his name, Bobby, his henchman, to find out the mathematical equivalency of how many died in office. And he will come back with that. And he says famously, I like those odds. and they all try to talk him out of it. But JFK comes down to his suite and offers him the vice presidency. But JFK says to RFK, who's his campaign manager, for people who didn't know that this is a mere formality, that he's offered it to a bunch of people, and they turned it down as a formality. And he believed that no rational person would give up the most powerful position in Washington, the Senate Majority Leader, to accept a job which is the equivalent of, to quote another vice president, a warm bucket of spit. And he went down there thinking that LBJ would be another one to turn it down.
In fairness, I think that other guy who said warm bucket of spit was Teddy, who also became president.
Yeah.
It's funny how that works. It's like, oh, the most useless job in the world. Oh, thank you very much. I swear to protect him.
Right. Now, what happens is he accepts it. He talks to his brain trust and he says, I'm going to take this job. And they said not to do it because of the power. And he famously says, power goes where I go. Power goes where power goes. And he says, I'm going to change that office into, not surprisingly, a Dick Cheney type of vice presidency, Hunley, where Dick Cheney, who died today, turned the office of the vice presidency into what LBJ wanted to do under JFK, if that makes any sense to anybody. And he was determined to do that because why would he give up the Senate majority role? Okay, RFK comes back, as does some of his aides, and they said, you can't have LBJ. The unions are going to go crazy. The black leadership is going to go crazy. And RFK goes down to talk him out of it. And RFK physically goes downstairs to tell LBJ that he's got to give up the vice presidency that the president to be just asked him to accept. And RFK, look at it from LBJ's point of view. His brother, he says, your own brother just came to me an hour ago and asked me to take this job. Who are you to now tell me not to take it? Look at it from LBJ's point of view. You're his campaign manager, bro.
No, I agree. And by the way, I looked it up, and it appears the quote was attributed to John Nance Garner, who was the vice president under Roosevelt, the other Roosevelt, FDR.
Yeah. But regardless of the quote, the fact of the matter is RFK gets into a fight with him, and this kind of begins the feud, although the feud is exacerbated by LBJ calling Joseph Kennedy a Nazi sympathizer when he was ambassador to England in the 1930s. And this drives RFK insane. But also it's exacerbated by this request by RFK to have LBJ rescind his acceptance of the vice presidency, which was brought to bear by the relationship between LBJ and J. Edgar Hoover. Why would J. Edgar Hoover want LBJ in the vice presidency?
Yep.
Like, what's it to him? I mean, why is he so excited about having this? I mean, you would think that J. Edgar Hoover, who knew power better than any other man, would say that you should stay as Senate Majority Leader, the most powerful job in D.C.
He liked them odds.
Yeah, he liked those odds.
Especially if he's somebody who could shape odds, if you will, find votes and find things that are going on.
Nobody disliked the Kennedys more than Hoover. I mean, Hoover had, he was apoplectic about the sex lives of the Kennedys and stuff like that.
Well, and the special film that Bobby put in.
Well, I mean, I think it's more the sex lives than anything else. The fact of the matter is, they were beholden to Hoover, and LBJ offered him the job for life as soon as he got into power. That was the quid pro quo between LBJ and Hoover.
Which is kind of like, well, okay. I mean, it's not like Hoover didn't have the job for life damn near anyway.
But I mean, even Nixon kept him on. I mean, he dies during Nixon's watch.
On the job.
But look what happens after that. Look what happens, the debacle and the power vacuum, because he dies on his watch. Even if he'd been replaced on his watch or anybody's watch, there would have been a power vacuum.
Yeah, no, I agree. Well, and you have to give him both credit and blame for that, because I feel like he probably X'd out anybody who could potentially be a threat to him and therefore qualified, thus a good power vacuum, because he made sure there was nobody truly strong enough to take him out. And then when he was gone, it was kind of like a confusing mess.
Yeah, even the phony Deep Throat guy was an
Felt.
alcohol. What's that?
Mark Felt.
Even Mark Felt was a total alcoholic and had problems with his daughter, who was in a cult and had all kinds of issues. He was fucking nut. And then Nixon put in L. Patrick Gray so he could have some puppet there. And L. Patrick Gray screws the pooch by telling his Senate Confirmation Committee that he burned the files that were put in there, and they were brought to him by John Dean, and he burned them. And they're going, "What? You burn these top secret files?" And that was the end of L. Patrick Gray.
Well, by now.
Yeah.
All right. Justin Lancer, I hardly knew her.
Lancer, yeah. I think that was his Secret Service name, right?
Yeah. I think it was. As a matter of fact, Lancer was not only a Secret Service name, but it's a conference.
Well, I think that's where they got it from. I think that's where they.
No, I know that, but I thought this is called a segue, Mark.
Oh, we already did it though, Hunley.
Well, we mentioned and said he might be talking there, but we have not actually properly promoted it. Like folks need to know, if you want to go to this conference, time is ticking. 2 weeks from Thursday, I'll be on the plane heading out there. I don't know about you, Mark, but
that's right. You don't.
2 weeks from Thursday, I will be on a plane headed to Dallas to be there for the conference starting on Friday. I think you and I are on Saturday giving our presentation. And you all can join us either in person or virtually. You can click the QR code in the bottom right corner using your phone. You point it right at the screen. If you're watching on the big TV, you can hit a link in the description. But the most important element is what, Mark? What is it they have to remember to do?
Get off their fat asses.
And when they get off their fat asses, what do they have to do?
Use the secret code.
There you go. Use the secret code that's not secret because it's splashed on the screen, Untold 10, and save 10%. And it also tells them that we sent you. So you save 10%.
That logo. See that logo up in the corner with the blood dripping out of Kennedy's head?
Yes.
You see that? I'm going to tell you something right now, which is a little piece of trivia. I'm doing this show on John Belushi tomorrow. But there was a part of the script in Animal House, the original draft, there was a giant JFK head in the float when they were having their parade, and a keg of beer goes through his head like the bullet hole in that logo, and it was removed from the script.
Wow.
Yeah, that was in the original Animal House script.
Yeah, I'm sure somebody said too soon.
Yeah, well, it was 78, so I don't know how soon it was, but the idea of a keg of beer going through Kennedy's head like a bullet was too much for Universal Pictures.
Yeah, I have a feeling that probably was a wise choice. And wasn't there questions about the last day of Animal House when they were having the parade that was November 21st, 1963. And it was like the kind of the last of the good times, and then the next day everything went to hell.
I don't know about that, but the story is set in 62. So the movie itself is set in 62. It's supposed to be a pre-JFK era. I don't know about the actual days, but it is supposed to be. I'll just tell you this. Chris Miller, who's an old friend, one of the co-writers of Animal House, it's based on his experiences in Dartmouth. They were listening to a high-speed police chase of a car on the radio in the background while they were drinking, having a frat party. And the guy they were chasing crashes into a tree and is killed. And they go to the site with their beer mugs in hand, and his brains are splattered all over the tree, and they scooped him off of the tree into their beer mugs and brought them back to the frat house. That was also in the original script.
Good that they left that out.
I'm just saying, tomorrow we're going to get into Belushi and Animal House and the secret life of John Belushi. There's a lot more having stories of John Belushi having him at National Lampoon and his wife there, and there's a lot of fun stuff for tomorrow. But yeah, I've been thinking about it.
While we're pitching gruesome moments, Thursday I will have Kathy Sanders, who lost both of her grandchildren in the Oklahoma City bombing and turned into an investigator herself. So her grandchildren, I think, were 4 years old and 2 years old, died in the daycare center that was part of the Murrah building. And I will be releasing the first interview I had with her. So,
hey, what happened to the McCarthy one? People watched that, right?
McCarthy.
Didn't we do one on Senator McCarthy? Well, we were away, a repeat or something.
We've never done McCarthy. We need to do McCarthy.
What's on that logo? I thought it said the one we did this Tuesday. What was that about?
Last Tuesday was the Chokeholds interview that we released.
What did we do
with
on
the
Friday?
Lawyers? Friday, I released a double episode. The first interview you ever did with me on my channel, Eric Hunley, on here, and the first time Barnes was ever interviewed with you as kind of a double header episode. So people who wanted to go back in
McCarthy, did it say McCarthy here on it or something? The new McCarthyism, it said.
Right, because you've been talking about how we were suffering under the new McCarthyism.
I'm not dreaming. I was talking about McCarthy.
Yes, but it wasn't actually McCarthy, which we have talked about having as an episode on McCarthy. That was just talking about new McCarthyism at the time, because the censorship was running particularly strong in 2021 through 2024.
I just want to show you this. This is one of the bigger mugs I've ever gotten. It was given to me by a guy named the Big Torpedo, who's a fan of the show, which now has become appropriate.
Okay.
Tip of the hat to that guy.
Absolutely. All right. So we've got some more super chats and questions. George McCabe, why can't the task force get access to the Payne's tax returns to see if anything is there? Thank you. Who said they're looking?
Yeah, they're not even looking for it. I mean, there's a lot of things you could get, and they just keep saying, no, we can't get that. I mean, I don't know. It just seems like
they haven't even addressed it. I think they just moved on. They're like, hey, we're on to UFOs now.
Yeah,
we're out of space. So yeah, bad question. Did you hear the tape with Billy Sol Estes and Cliff Carter? They stated that LBJ was responsible for the Kennedy assassination.
Yeah, I'd like to get that guy on and talk about it, because it's so on the nose that it seems highly improbable. But maybe the guy can explain it, that the kid who found it.
Yeah. We're a little dubious on it, but we'll see. Dave Wheelhauer. Question. Mark, Eric, I used to wait on Ted Kennedy in West Palm and Palm Beach. She told me to follow Jackie, what she did, wore the dress for a whole day and after, and say, I want them to see what they did. Well,
I cover that in the LBJ audio drama, because he sends in his wife, Lady Bird, into the stateroom on board the plane to lay out a new set of clothes for her, which was a clean from her own collection. A clean set of shoes, a new dress, and it was on the bed. Lady Bird had put it there for the swearing in. And that quote comes from Jackie Kennedy to Lady Bird as to why she refused to put on the dress that Lady Bird had selected for her. That's the origin of that quote.
All right. Peter Crocito, or Crocito. Question, is the JFK assassination? Okay. Question, is the JFK assassination, I think you mean, the fastest murder ever solved in history? Yeah,
probably. I mean, if you think about it, unless there's something like the Sirhan one where they catch him with a smoking gun in a room full of 120 people.
Is true. That's probably faster.
Yeah. And they drag him off to jail and he won't give them his name. I would think that was a little quicker.
Yeah, yeah. I'd say I
120
was going to say
witnesses.
Thomas Crooks, but he didn't kill anybody.
No. The Sirhan one is like, don't kill him. We don't want another Dallas here.
Yeah, no kidding. George McCabe. Was Oswald instructed to head to their movie theater or to the movie theater? He must have been if a second Oswald in balcony and police response to theater. What?
I don't understand that part, but I think he was going to the theater. It's just my take on it. I don't know about all this other stuff, but the police responded rather quickly to him being in that theater.
Remarkably, because I'm like, how would you know? What would you?
Yeah, why would you even know?
You...
Unless, well, they say that Butch Burroughs, who sold him popcorn, I mean, Butch Burroughs later said that he was there in time for the pre-film trailers, which would have made it like 105 very early on to see those pre-film trailers, and got him popcorn. Burroughs' story was buried. The manager of the theater, that is, Butch Burroughs.
Right, but then how he said, "Hey, you know what? I got somebody here buying popcorn. He might be."
No, he didn't do it. Yeah, he didn't call the cops.
How would they know?
They claim that Johnny what's his face did it, the shoe salesman from next door, that he was the one that called him. But that's never been proven.
Right. Well, I guess what I'm asking him, and maybe I'm obtuse, is why would a guy from next door go, "Hey, I think the guy who shot Kennedy is here."
Okay.
Is he claiming that Lee is going
to claim
I killed the son of a bitch?
No, to claim Johnny's story, that he was skulking along the storefronts and then ducked into the theater. That he came out of this is his story, that he saw a man outside skulking along tight with the stores, and he came out of the shoe store and followed him into the theater.
I see. So
that's the story he gave.
So he was just saying he just saw some dude skulking and reported him.
Well, he fit the description, though. He fit the description.
Okay.
This is the story. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I'm just explaining the origin of what's out there.
Fair enough. I'm just a little skeptical on some of it. Let me see. Daniel Twet. Anyway, what do you think of the Carl Oglesby Cowboy Yankee War Theory?
Oh, it's a huge book. I mean, I don't know what part of it you mean. There's all kinds.
I think that's the whole LBJ is like the cowboy form of the government. And JFK is the Yankee, and
the guy was going to fucking jail. How about that for a theory? It was survival of the fittest.
Well, I think it carries on too that that Nixon was a cowboy, and Kennedy, Ted Kennedy was a Yankee. So you have this like split in the cultures. Also, like Bush Senior, Yankee.
Okay, Jimmy Carter's a Southern cracker farmer versus Reagan on a horse.
Yeah.
Who's the cowboy there? A former actor, president of the SAG Screen Actors Guild versus a rancher in Georgia?
I don't know if it went on forever, but
no, I'm saying it's just a literary device. It doesn't even hold up.
I guess. Let me see. Okay, Daniel Twit again. Who were the members of the High Cabal that Winston Churchill referenced? Well, Churchill was gone by the time Kennedy died.
I don't know anything about that. I don't know what they're about. High Cabal.
Yeah, I'm confused by that one.
I just know the Russians believed it was LBJ, and they're not retarded.
No.
I mean, that was their own internal investigation.
True. Finley Sallow, interesting. Question: was Ruby hunting Oswald near Oswald's home to kill J.D. Tippit?
No, I think they went over. The Tippit killing is very close to Ruby's apartment, and him and Crawford went over there. Crawford then fled the next day. They brought his ass back from Wisconsin, where he's up in a cabin. The FBI brought him back, and he said, "I didn't want them to blame this on me." And they incredulously said in the Warren Commission, blame the Kennedy assassination on you. And he didn't know what to say, Eric, because he couldn't say Tippit. and he'd already said too much. So they backed off the questionings of Crawford in this Tippit. It wasn't even up to Tippit, why he fled, and they went into Ruby's phone book that he was in possession of, and they were in possession of, and they were asking him every name in Ruby's phone book as to who they were. But the apartment where Ruby and Crawford was staying was walking distance to the Tippit crime scene.
Yep, we've mapped it out. We haven't walked that ourselves, but we did map that out, I think. Diffuse 56 gifted 10 America's Untold Stories memberships. Thank you, Tractor Guy. We appreciate that. Brian Roosh, I got off my fat ass and clicked.
There's way to go, Brian. That wasn't so difficult.
Yeah, see?
Everybody should be as smart as Brian.
Smart, motivated.
And see his movie, his biopic, which is great, The Life of Brian.
Done by the illustrious lads from Monty Python. Let's see. Mr. Mike, was it over when the Germans bombed Pearl Harbor? Thanks for another show, dudes.
Stop it. Don't worry, he's on a roll. Yeah, he ends up in 1942, the Spielberg movie, and it's a debacle. But if you look at the end of Blues Brothers, when they finally go to pay the back taxes on the church, which is the plot of the Blues Brothers, they go to see the county clerk in the Cook County office to pay the back taxes. And the clerk is a Nebuchadnezzar-looking nerd with glasses, and it's Steven Spielberg.
All right. Well, that's actually a perfect close for the show today, too, that question. So we're going to be shifting over to locals, where you can always join for free. There's a link in the description. We'll see if there's some more illustrious questions there, and see you momentarily.